Hello, this is the TradeState US Stocks and Futures Market Preview and International Economic Data Roadmap for the week beginning Sunday the 23rd of January 2022, ending Friday the 28th. We just got past options expiration. We did close at the lows of the day. It was kind of a nasty day. It was a weird day though because we sold off early, continuing Thursday's late sell-off, then bounced pretty hard, but then still came back and sold off late in the day, which is kind of what happens in a bear market. So it is what it is. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's start with the Forex side, which is totally uneventful. I'm just going to flash some charts here because there's no point in staring at them. Dollar index completely dead flat for the last 5 days. There's nothing here to look at. You got a static trend line back down at 94. This thing has been horrible for a while. The euro dollar is the inverse of the dollar index. Could get a 13 buy signal here shortly. The pound dollar, a little more action. Forex has not been that exciting. Aussie dollar, not interesting either. Here's a look at the week charts, 30-minute candles on the euro dollar. High to low for the week is only about 100 pips. So that's just not that interesting. It's hard to trade that. Pound dollar a little better, but still only about 130 pips. Again, like I said, that's just not easily tradable. So I don't want to focus on Forex. It's just not there right now. Let's get to the stock market stuff. Here's the ES front month futures contract. This is the daily chart of the broad market futures form. Obviously a big sell-off from the highs. It's really nowhere yet in terms of just like what's going on in the broad market. If you look at, like, for example, the weekly chart of this and see it going back several years, it's nothing, right? We had that, but we did have that 13 sell signal. And the static trend line of that move is at about 41.50. That's the red line you see there. So, the 13 sell signal is right on pace. And the static trend line is not pretty. And again, we've got, in what we call inflationary concerns. I'm not worried about long-term inflation, but there's short-term inflationary issues. We've got the Fed probably going to raise rates, and you got the Fed going to pull back in on their asset purchases. So, these are all negatives. The cryptocurrency market is falling apart left and right. Bitcoin's sitting at 35,000. So we're down over 50, we're down 50% basically from the highs on Bitcoin and the cryptos. So that's not that exciting, but it is what it is from that perspective. Let's look at, let's go back to the daily charts here, and then let's look at the cash indices. So the S&P down 84.79 on Friday. Now here, this is what's interesting. 13 sell signal about a week and a half ago. Static trend line, we basically hit it. So that's the first target of your, and could be the only target, right, of your 13 sell signal. So we've kind of completed what that signal's supposed to do. So is that it? Is that the end? Again, I think there's a lot of fundamental stuff out there that could still hurt us. NASDAQ 100 had a 13 sell signal. And this is my example here, right? In December, came back. It got to that static trend line on Thursday and then just continued like it didn't even exist on Friday. By the way, the low in October right there, right, was basically we're almost to it within a couple points. And if you lose all that, you've given up everything. I mean, next stop is 14,000, but we could go significantly lower, obviously, if this is going to turn into some kind of a crash, which I think it probably has that potential with everything the Fed's doing. The SOX down 60 points. The static trend line here. Biotech's down 65.31. New lows there. The Russell 2000 down 36.11. New lows there. No, that's pretty. Crude oil up 72 cents to 85.86. That's not at the highs, but it's near it. Gold up $5.10. Really mid-range for the last year. Nothing major there. But the advanced decline ratio on the NASDAQ on Friday, negative 26.88. That's the second lowest in a year. So nothing positive about that. And on the New York, it was negative 1953, which is, or 1966, which is pretty negative as well. Maybe in the bottom 7. NASDAQ volume was 5.8 billion shares. That's better volume. But again, remember that was options expiration. So there's a little extra kick from that options expiration volume. The trend closes at 1.63. That brings that 10-day back up to 1.96. But remember, that thing spent 3 days under 0.85, and that's the sell signal on the broad market. It's not just about like a day or two. I mean, it's a broad sell signal that usually lasts. VIX getting back near up 3.26 to 28.85. Get back near the highs of the last year. Right, if you get into the 30s here much, that's going to be ugly. Apple down $2.10. That's not pretty. Amazon down 180.49. That's not pretty. Facebook down 13.39. That's close to not pretty. Google down 59.12. And again, that doesn't look good at all either. Goldman Sachs down 4.19. We're focused on the short on that one. Netflix down 110.75. A gap down on the earnings. And remember that 13 sell signal was right at the high. Peloton up $2.84. TLT, the 20-year bond ETF, up $1.69. It's a good one. Tesla down 52.37. Remember that 13 sell signal back after earnings there. Zoom down $8.15. Again, new lows on Zoom, and it's just the story continues. By the way, Bitcoin. Here's Bitcoin daily chart. So again, it basically got to 70,000. Now it's at 35,000. That's a fib, right? That's 50% retracement. Nothing pretty about that. So if we look at the intra-week action, 10-minute candles on the ES. Remember, we had the Monday holiday last week with MLK. So we gapped down a bit on Monday, dead flat, gapped up, and then filled and sold off in the last hour on Tuesday, mostly flat. Gapped up on Wednesday. We were actually heading back to highs. Looked positive, right? Basically coming into lunch, we were still holding the minor gains for the day. And even after lunch, not much. But then you finally sold off and filled the gap with not much time left, and then sold off hard in the last hour. So, a lot of people go, whoa, that should have been your big money-making day. Yeah, the problem is it's all in the last hour, and none of it looked negative until about that time. And then on Friday, small gap down that filled, and then we closed at the lows. Right, so that's it. NASDAQ side, not much different, of course. Dow Jones was down 450 points. So, more negativity than positivity. Again, I would focus on the short side. Sell the bounces, that type of thing. But you need patterns, and we'll just continue to look for what we always look for. In terms of economic data in the week ahead, which this is not the right date yet, so let me get up here and jump forward a week. So Sunday, let's just focus on the American stuff. There's not much here. Flash manufacturing and services PMI numbers around the world, and then the U.S. at 9:45 a.m. Eastern time on Monday. Tuesday, we've got housing price index, consumer confidence, Richmond manufacturing index. Australia's got a bank holiday, trade balance out of New Zealand. Already into Wednesday, we got a rate announcement out of Bank of Canada, goods trade balance and preliminary wholesale inventories here in the U.S., along with our crude oil inventories at 10:30. We have a rate announcement, so we've got two-day Fed meeting. So here's the current expectation. The current expectation is that the Fed's not going to do anything until March. If they do something here, that's going to be aggressive. And it'll be really interesting to see. So I think this is a bigger Fed meeting than we've had in a long time. So just keep an eye on what that looks like. On Thursday, we've got the first look at GDP for the fourth quarter. It's expected to be fairly positive. We'll see what happens. Durable goods, the initial and continuing jobless claims numbers, pending home sales, natty gas. Going into Friday, we've got the unemployment cost index, personal income and spending here in the U.S., along with revised University of Michigan sentiment, and that is it. So we will see how the week plays out. There's no holidays. There's nothing else to deal with. It is just a straight-up trading week with options from January already expired. Next week, Monday, is the end of month. Just keep that in mind in case that turns into anything. And we will see where we go. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great trading week.